Hey everyone, it's Magic Man Scott 40K. I'm gonna be talking about Endless Space 2. So as of right now, everything Endless Space 2 related is on sale. And I thought about doing a DLC shopping guide, and I thought that'd be interesting. Instead of doing each DLC one by one, because at the start of my videos I have this active, and it does change the gameplay a lot. Instead of doing that every time I record, I thought about just doing one big review. Now I have played every DLC except for the newest one, but I do have it unlocked, but I just haven't played it yet. So yeah, this is gonna be like a shopping guide, and I do want to mention right off the bat that pretty much all the DLC is worth it. And another thing I want to mention is I do think each and every DLC does make the game easier. So let's say you're struggling with this game, you find it hard, you can't beat the tutorial. It took me like a week to beat the tutorial, and it took me like another week to beat it again. And then the third time, I beat it in like a day. So I do think each and every DLC does make the game easier. Now I'm not sure if the DLC is even active during the tutorial. I think it's actually turned off. But anyways, this is going to be a shopping guide for Endless Space 2. I want to show you what I got. So I have almost 200 hours. I just tried out hacking. I did watch a tutorial video, but it made zero sense to me. The guy was talking really fast, and I didn't understand a word he said. So I just turned the volume off and watched his gameplay, and that made things even more confusing. So for hacking, I have no idea. And I looked up tips written down, and all the tips were like 2 years old. So yeah. So when it comes to hacking, I just had to figure that out myself. All the tips and tricks made no sense to me at all. Anyways, I want to do a shopping guide because of this big sale, and I want to do kind of a review. And yeah, so I have played all the DLCs except for the new one, and a lot of the DLCs are random, meaning sometimes you'll get them, sometimes you won't, even if you buy it. So I do want to do a heads up. This right here is an achievement just for, I guess, just playing the game on this day. If you play the game on this day, you'll get this achievement. Now, a lot of these achievements I have are rare. If I go through my achievements right now, all of them are, you see this flashing? That means less than 10%. And pretty much all of these are flashing. If I go through all my achievements, they're all flashing. And some of these are pretty easy. Like, some of these achievements were not that hard. This one's not flashing, but most of them are flashing, which is less than 10% of players have achieved it. This is not going to be an achievement review, but I did want to show you that I did stuff, you know. I still consider myself a new player because I have no idea how hacking works. So I still have a lot to learn. So I do have 200 hours, and I guess I should start the shopping guide because I already talked for a while. I don't want to make this video too long. Also, my audio might be high because I like to talk over the voices. In the game, they talk, and I need to talk over that. So my voice might be loud for this video. I have it set I have my audio set high so I can talk over the the characters. So yeah. So I started recording. I don't really have a script. If I see a DLC, I'll just talk about it. And this will be my experience. There's a lot of randomness in Endless Space 2. So your experience might be different from my experience. If you want the short version of this video, I do recommend all the DLC. I know that's a lot of money. I spent like $60 on the DLC. That's quite a bit of change. But I do think every DLC is high quality. I just want to throw that out there. It's all high quality stuff. They don't, none of this is sloppy. You can tell they put some real elbow grease into all of it. I will be talking about all the DLCs, even the free one. Now I'm not sure if I should go into the store and talk about it, or start the game up and talk about it, because the game also has a list. The game has a list of everything. So I'm not sure which would be easier. I guess I'll use Steam, but I know some people use other websites like GOG. I'll be talking about this game through Steam. There is a big Steam sale. I'll show you the 70% off stuff. So let me go ahead and click on the store page. You'll see my review. My review is just me gushing about the game. But I do say it's difficult, even on easy. That was like my one complaint. It's a difficult game. So let me go ahead and hit store page. I'm not going to play this video in case I get copyrighted. So this is my review. I'm gushing about the game. So right here, 75% off. I'm not sure how long this will last. Oh, it says right here, January 30th. And as you can see here, I'm pretty sure I have all the DLCs. Yeah, I can't even buy the bundle because it's all active. So this is my first Amplitude game. This is my first Endless game. I don't have the other Endless games. I do want to mention that. I'm not like an Endless expert. This is my first Amplitude game. Now I am a very sci-fi guy. If you go through my library, it's public. If you go through my library, it's like all sci-fi games, Star Wars and all that. I'm a very sci-fi heavy guy. I'm also a big fan of medieval stuff. So I got a lot of medieval games. And I also like to combine the two. Medieval lasers. So stuff like that. That's up my alley. Basically anything nerdy. I do want to mention real quick that I am more of a casual player. I never speedrun a game. I never 100% a game unless it has like 2 achievements. So I want to say that at the start, that I am a casual player. Yeah, I guess I should start the video. So yeah, everything is 70% off. Everything is in the pennies. So we can talk about this list here. Now I know on screen these words are even smaller, so I'll go ahead and boost this up, and I'll go ahead and click on each and every one and talk about it. Now there is like 50 DLCs, so I'll give you the short version, and I'll talk about the ones that I actually like have experience with. I'm not going to talk about the ones that I only played a couple minutes. So let's talk about, I'm going to click on the ones that I know pretty well. Celestial Worlds. This one's called Celestial Worlds DLC, and right now it's $1, and full price is $3. So let's talk about this $1 DLC as of today. So Celestial Worlds, I'll go ahead and click on that to blow it up for you guys. So I'll go ahead and just read off the description and tell you my thoughts if it's worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that Celestial Worlds is actually probably the best DLC out of all of them. I had nothing but a good time with this DLC. So this is one of the, if you're going to buy something, DLC, this is probably the first one you should get. Celestial Worlds, I have nothing but high praise. So I'll go ahead and read it off to you. As new quests, and so this quest, not a big deal. This quest is random, and this quest here is like 5 minutes. A lot of these quests are like 5-minute quests. So let me go ahead and read off this DLC. So multiple ending quest line of 14 chapters. So this is true. I did that one. It takes about, I don't know, 2 hours. It takes about 2 hours to do all of it. And each chapter gives you a reward. So you'll be pretty overpowered if you do finish it. Now a lot of these quests require you to explore the map. So you have to really get out there and explore. 2 unique planets. Now I think this DLC is worth it just for the unique planets. Having a higher chance of getting a unique planet makes the game so much easier. Now I don't recall exactly which planet was unique, because there's a huge list. There's a huge list of unique planets. So I don't remember which one is DLC, but just giving you a higher chance of spawning one is worth it. 6 new weapon modules. Weapon modules are so fun. Weapon modules are extremely fun. And it really does change the game. It changes the game completely. And 8 new Empire improvements. Now I'm guessing these are quests only. Empire improvements. And I'm thinking they are the passive ones. I'm pretty sure these Empire improvements are the passive ones. Like 10% here, 10% there. I think that's what they mean. I don't think these are actually buildings. So, but yeah, 8 new improvements. I do think Celestial Worlds might actually be the best one. And I think right now it's $1. So it's $1 for, it makes your game a lot better. I do wish this was free though, because it's almost, you should really get this one. This is like the best one. Alright,
Dust.
This actually might be difficult. I might start up the game. There's a big list inside the game. That might be easier. Alright. The soundtrack is a banger. It's $2. I really like the Riftborn soundtrack and the Craver soundtrack. And I'll go ahead and play a little bit of that, because I don't think that's copyrighted. It really is a banger. Let's see. Is it this one? Oh, is it not downloaded? I thought it was downloaded. This will take a second. Or not. I guess this will take a while. I thought for sure this was downloaded already. But anyways, I do think the soundtrack is an absolute banger. It's mostly synth. So if you like synth music, I do think this soundtrack is an absolute banger. And right now it's $2. So I think this is another one that's worth it. I have pretty much every soundtrack ever. Any game, I always buy the soundtrack. You do need to have Steam open and then play it, so it's kind of a pain. Alright, it's actually downloading kind of fast. Now I'm pretty sure the entire soundtrack is on YouTube, but I bought it anyways. I just want to show you guys a little bit, like a taste. Because I really do think it's an absolute banger of a soundtrack. I do think the Darktide soundtrack is better. Warhammer Darktide. Is it gonna finish? If not, I'll keep talking about the DLCs. Well, I can talk about the DLCs while it's downloading. I'll go ahead and go back. This will only take a second to download. Alright. So, Celestial Worlds. That's an absolute banger of a DLC. Highly recommend. The soundtrack. Soundtrack, highly recommend. I guess we'll talk about Supremacy. Supremacy is a big DLC, and it's $3. So I guess we'll talk about that. This is a massive. This is probably the biggest DLC, in my opinion. It adds the Hisho, which from what I understand is from Endless. I want to say Endless Dungeon. This is actually an Endless Dungeon reference. But I want to talk about the Hisho. This DLC, Endless Supremacy, I do think this is actually the biggest one. And right now it's $3. So out of all the DLCs available, I do think this one changes the game the most. This will have the biggest impact. And it also adds another military faction, which I enjoy. So I do think this is another DLC is an absolute banger. But I do think the Hisho are by far the most difficult faction. And these new spaceships, the Behemoth, it adds a new Behemoth spaceship. And this took me several hours to learn. The Behemoth is not a beginner ship. You need to really read to learn it. So I do think Supremacy is another DLC that's absolutely worth it, but it's not for beginners because it took me a very long time to learn how it works. I had to look up several guides, several tutorials. It's not very explained very well in the game. They don't teach you how the Behemoths work. It's not explained in the game at all. So I had to really sit down and just figure out how they work. This is probably the biggest DLC like ever. So, and that's what they add in the game. I'll go ahead and show you. This right here, this is a Behemoth. This is like a mile-long ship. And it basically one-shots anything in the game. And it takes like forever to get to this point. It takes like you'll unlock this towards the end of the game. And it takes forever, but it's worth it. It's hard to explain Supremacy DLC, but this is probably the biggest DLC out there, out of all of them. It's a chunky one.
Dust.
Okay, I now have the the soundtrack working. I just want to play 2 songs. I think this will convince you to buy it. This one. This is an absolute banger. That one there is an absolute banger of a song. What's another one? The Unfallen song is amazing. If I can find it. This one here. This is probably the best song. This is one of the best songs I ever heard. This song alone makes it worth it. And this is what I mean by the DLCs are not sloppy at all. They put a lot of work into this. Now it's up to you if you want to grab this. It's all on YouTube, so you can listen to this on your phone. Okay, I think that's good enough. I do think that's the best song in the game, hands down. The Wii is also pretty good. I like this song too. The Wii is really good. All these songs are... Each and every song is a banger. So I just want to tell you guys that all the songs are a complete banger. Let's see. Okay, so this one here is just skins. This one is completely optional. This one here doesn't really matter. This will make you look evil. So this is more of a skin. And also, if your people revolt against you, they will have a different look. So this will make the people easier to find. But yeah, this is more of a skin. It does make everyone look more evil. So if you want a more evil look, I have this one installed, but it pretty much never shows up. So this one here is kind of hit and miss. Renegade Fleets. That one there is a hit and miss DLC. It is free though. Stories adds a comic. I don't know if I can show you that, but Stories, if I go into my game files, you can find a comic book, and I think it's a prequel before the game starts. So if you want to know the story before the game starts, that's what the story DLC does, and it's free. Guardians in the Galaxy, free DLC. I think this one's automatic because some factions start out with the Guardians, or not Guardians. I forget the name of them. The Hiroshima. There we go. Some factions start out with the Hiroshima, so I think this DLC here is actually automatic, because some factions start out with this guy here, this farmer guy, the Cravers. I think the Cravers start out with these guys. So I think this DLC here is actually in the game when you buy it. So, but anytime. So when you go through these DLC, make sure you hit add to library. There's an add to library button, and make sure you go ahead and hit that when you're buying these. But yeah, I think this DLC here is actually in the game. That one there is kind of hit and miss. It's a
Yes.
very Guardians in the Galaxy is kind of a hit and miss DLC. Sometimes it'll activate. Really, the only time this DLC will activate is when you kill Unfallen. If you kill Unfallen, this DLC will activate, and that's it. It's a very specific DLC. This one's kind of hit and miss. Target locked update. I forget which one this is. Doo-doo-doo. This one adds fighters and bombers. This might actually be a lie, because I never seen this in the game. But I know I have it. I'm almost positive I have this. I do have these guys. These red Sophons. I do have her. She's a Academy unlock. So bombers are only good on the large ships. You can see in the background here, there's a very large ship, and that's the only time these guys are useful. So this quest here, or this DLC here, target locked. This is more of an end game DLC. So if you get towards the end of the game, this is what you want. If you want to become more powerful, if you want to become even more powerful, this is what you want. This is this makes your strong guys stronger. If you want to become overpowered, this is a good DLC to pick up. Now you do have to unlock bombers, and you do need to slap it on. So that's two things you have to do manually. So it's a very manual DLC. Little Grin Man. Little Grin Man was a Halloween event, and this adds a hero. And this quest here is whatever. It's really a free hero. You can make him a fighter or a. You can help out your planet. You can make your planet better. This is just a free hero. This quest here almost never activates, and I only done it like once. I done this quest like once or twice. But this was a Halloween event, and really this quest is like 5 minutes. So this DLC this DLC adds about 5 minutes to the game. So this is a very, very small DLC. It adds about 5 minutes, give or take. Galactic Starcraft. I don't remember this one at all. What's Galactic Starcraft? Oh, this is the diplomacy one. Yeah, diplomacy is a huge deal. So this is almost, I would say this one is pretty much required. If you plan on being friends with anyone, this is pretty much required. This should be in the game, honestly. This should not be an update. This should be in the game. Because this is required, I would say. Yeah, I would say all of this is required. So I guess Celestial Worlds and Galactic Starcraft and Supremacy, those are like the top 3. You pretty much need this DLC to play the game. It really should just be in the game at the start, but whatever. Digital art book. Not much I can talk about there. I really do like the art in this game, so if you want to grab the art book. I guess that's it for the small DLCs. They also add new songs. The new songs are kind of whatever. But if you want new songs, if you're bored of... if you look at the soundtrack, it was like 10 songs. If you're bored of the same 10 songs over and over again, you can go ahead and grab these song DLCs. This will just mix things up. These are more party music. If you want to add more party music to the game. Let's see here. Alright, I guess we'll talk about vaulters. Vaulters are really fun. But they are so Supremacy is an endless dungeon reference, and Vaulter is a endless dungeon reference. So let me go ahead and talk about that. So these guys here are actually a endless dungeon reference, or maybe endless legend. But these guys are a reference from another game. Vaulters is super fun. I don't think this DLC is required, but I do want to tell you guys it's extremely fun. The Vaulters, they have the power to teleport, and they can also they're a teleport faction, and they're also a defense faction, which is interesting. They are pretty hard to play as. I don't think the Vaulters are the easiest faction out there, but they are fun. I do think Vaulters, I don't know if you guys can see this too well. I do think Vaulters I don't think it's required, but it is extremely fun, and I highly recommend it. I do think out of all the DLCs, this might actually be the most fun one. So I do recommend Vaulters a lot. It also adds the power to talk to pirates, which is a pretty big deal. This gives you the power to ignore pirates, and this also gives you the power to hire pirates. And I do think that alone makes the game a lot easier. It makes the game so much more easier. Now I'm not sure if this DLC is worth the full price, but I do think it's worth it on sale. Now my review of the Vaulter DLC I do think this is probably the most fun one. If you're looking for just pure fun that doesn't really add a whole lot, I think this is it. Also, the Vaulters is more of a casual faction because you'll spend a lot of time waiting. This is a wait-heavy faction. You just kind of wait around. So I do think this is more of a casual faction because you have to hit end turn a lot. Now I do think these guys are difficult, but they're also pretty casual. I do think this DLC is a lot easier than Supremacy, if that makes sense. So that's my review of the Vaulter DLC. I do think it's probably the most fun, but it's not required. The next major DLC is Penumbra, and I actually played this one yesterday for the first time. So Penumbra, I do think this one might be overpriced. This one here, this DLC is probably, I would say this one here is probably overpriced. This one is the same price as Supremacy, and it adds much less. So it adds the Umbral Choir to the game, which is a new faction. Umbral Choir is a scientist, peaceful faction that requires you to hack stuff. So you are required to know how to hack, which is kind of annoying, to be honest. It's annoying that you have to understand a DLC mechanic. But yeah, if you have to, you are required to know how to hack to play Penumbra or the Humble Choir. I do really enjoy pacifist factions. Every pacifist faction is a blast. Now, as of recording, I have not yet played as the Humble Choir, but I have played against them. It adds, this is a sneaking. If you want, okay. Penumbra adds sneaking to the game, and it also adds sabotage. If you enjoy sneaking and sabotage, this is for you. This is a sabotage heavy, is an extremely sabotage heavy DLC. Now I really do think this doesn't add a whole lot to the game. Sabotaging is not a instant win. This is not an instant win faction. So let me go ahead and show you sabotaging, which looks like this. This is what sabotaging does. This is not a instant win. So I do think this DLC is kind of hit and miss. Now I do think hacking is actually fun because it does add you can hack your friends. So what this does is it adds it's pretty silly if you ask me. You can hack your friends, you can hack anyone, you can hack aliens you never met before. If you meet aliens you never met, you can hack them. You can hack your enemy. If you hack your enemy, you can show all ships, so you know exactly where their army is. You can also do Sleeper, and what Sleeper does is it shows you their planet, so you can actually look at their economy. You can take a look at their population. This is a information heavy DLC. It's very, very, very information heavy. So if you want a information heavy DLC, this is it. Now what this does is, let's say you do know the basics of the game. I think knowing the basics of the game is required to play this. Because what this does is it lets you spy on people. And let's say you have 50 science and you can spy on someone and they have 30 science. So you know you have an advantage. You know you're ahead. That's basically what this DLC does. Is it lets you spy on people. Now if that sounds interesting, go ahead and pick this up. You can spy on your friends, which is pretty cool. Now I do think the hacking tutorial is garbage. The hacking tutorial is basically, it's not really a tutorial. It's absolute garbage. So, but anyways, this does let you, if you want information, if you want all the information, like pages and pages and pages of information, this is it. So if you want a stealth faction that hides in the shadows, that what this adds to the game is sneaking. You can sneak around, and that's pretty fun. You can basically go anywhere in the map for free if you have sneaking unlocked. So what this DLC does is it basically turns your game into, let's say, what's a famous sneaking game? Metal Gear? I guess Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is a famous sneaking game. That's basically what this DLC does. It turns you into Metal Gear Solid. It also, or let's say Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell is a pretty famous. Splinter Cell is a famous DLC, right? Or, blah. You guys know what Splinter Cell is. That's a stealth game. That's basically what this DLC does. If you want stealth and pages of information, and if you want to sabotage your friends, that's what this does. Now, I do think, even with all that said, it's still overpriced. I don't think this DLC is as big as, let's say, Supremacy. So this one here, I do think is very hit and miss. That's my review of Penumbra. If you want stealth, this is it. Now, when I tried, now for gameplay, the AI, I was playing against the AI, and one, they're pretty bad at hacking, and two, they have no idea how stealth works. So, when you play against the AI, I think this is just pure advantage, because they have no idea. If you go stealth, they can't find you, and if you hack them, they have no idea what to do. So I do think this gives you pure advantage if you want it. This does give you the power to go anywhere on the map because of stealth. So if you want to go anywhere on the map, there you go. Now stealth is like a tier 4 thing, which means you can unlock it like turn 100. So really, this DLC doesn't activate until about turn 100. So yeah, I do think this DLC is pretty overpriced. That's my 2 cents. Now we have Awakening. Awakening is definitely the most controversial one, but from what I understand, they did fix it years later. It took them years to fix it, but apparently this DLC works now. Now, I have not tried it, but I know it adds a new faction to the game, and it also adds the Academy to the game. Now, the Academy was in the game before, but now the Academy can actually talk to you and do stuff. It's kind of its own faction, and the Academy can... oh, this is a picture here. Okay, so this is a picture here. It adds the ability to talk to the Academy. Now, depending on how much you like that, you can go ahead and get the DLC. Now, in my opinion, I have not played this one, but in my opinion, this is the smallest DLC. This might be smaller than the free one. Yeah, I would say this is most likely the smallest DLC they added to the game. So the Academy, at the very start, it was a big deal, but they fixed it, so now it's smaller. So really, they added less to the game. And the major faction, Neclum. Let's see if I can find the Neclum. There we go. So a major faction, they added Neclum to the game. Now I have not tried them out yet, but they have a 3-star difficulty. So really, this is more for advanced players. So I would not recommend this to any beginner out there. But I have enjoyed every DLC they made, even a little bit. Even the bad DLCs I enjoyed. So I have full trust that this is fun. I have not tried it out yet, but I have full trust that it's fun. But I do want to warn you, it took them years to fix it, which is not a good sign. Also, it's not installed, but there's an option that I do know there's an option. So this does add the Academy to the game. This does add to the Academy to the game. And there's an option to turn it off, I think. So what you can do is you can buy this. You can get the Neclum, which is this faction here. And I think this is the first faction that's not a reference. So this is the first faction that's actually unique. And Umbral Choir. Umbral Choir is also unique. That's the first faction that's not a reference. So this, what you can do is buy this DLC and turn the academy off if you want. I do think this is overall, I have not played it yet, but I do think overall this is the smallest DLC. And from what I understand, the academy is always in the middle of the map. Like always. If you go to like the black hole, the middle of the map, the academy is there. From what I understand, the academy is always in the middle of the map. So I do think, and the academy was already in the game. So I do think this is easily the smallest DLC. I think this is actually smaller than the free stuff. The free stuff added more than this. So I do think this one here is probably, I have not tried it yet, but I do think this DLC is probably overpriced. So I do think Penumbra is overpriced because it adds less than Supremacy. Okay, so here's my review. Vultures, worth it. I think that's worth the price. It's just sheer fun. Supremacy. Supremacy is probably the most important DLC because it adds a million things to the game. That's worth it. Now, Penumbra and Academy or Awakening, these are definitely the smallest ones by a landslide. So I bought this just because I have trust in the company, but I do think these two are the smallest DLCs, and therefore it's really up to you. Do you really want this? It's really up to you if you want this. So those are my thoughts. This is very hit and miss. So let me go ahead and talk about the DLCs one more time, and then I'll end the video. Oh, and there's also Dark Matter. From what I understand, Dark Matter is bugged, but they did fix it. This DLC started out bugged, if you research it. Dark Matter. I think Dark Matter just adds quests, and that's it. Yeah. This just adds quests to the game. This is just lore. So, Dark Matter is just pure lore, if you want it. Dark Matter is also I would say Dark Matter is very hit or miss. Dark Matter is extremely hit or miss DLC. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I'll go ahead and say it one more time. Vultures, just pure fun. You don't have to get it. Supremacy, I think Supremacy is almost required. Supremacy adds a lot. It's hard to explain how much it adds. It adds so much to the game. And Supremacy adds something to all factions. It doesn't matter which faction you play, it adds something. So I think Supremacy is almost required. Celestial Worlds is also fantastic. Celestial Worlds is pretty much required. The Diplomacy one, which I think was this one down here. You want the Diplomacy DLC. The ones that cost money, what was it? Celestial Worlds, the soundtrack, Vultures, and Supremacy. I think all of those are pretty much required. And that is a total of $270, $5, $6. Then the soundtrack is $2. So I would say $8 or so is required. It adds a million things to the game. It makes the game completely different. So those ones I would say are required. The rest is really up to you. And I would also say the free ones. I would say the free DLC is also required because diplomacy is a big deal. The diplomacy update is massive. The ones that change the weapon changes are massive. So I would say the free DLCs are required. Now the rest of these DLCs, the ones that are not Vultures and Supremacy, the ones that are not those two, I would say those are optional. Those are towards the bottom of the list. Now I have full faith in this company after playing the game. So I would buy all this. And I'm kind of a whale. I spend a lot of money. I'm kind of a whale. So that's just me. That's my 2 cents. That's my honest opinion. And yeah. That's my review of all the DLC. The soundtrack is very subjective. I'm not going to talk about the soundtrack. It's very, very up to you. That's a very subjective, if you like synth music. It's really if you like synth music. So that's extremely subjective. I bought it because I got tired of the same 10 songs. It was pretty much the same 10 songs over and over. So I did get the soundtrack DLC, and I do enjoy it. If you want my take on it. And yeah. I think that's it for the video. The art book's great. I really enjoy the art book. Stories adds it basically adds Endless Space 1 to the game. If you want a prequel, it pretty much adds Endless Space 1. Oh, and something else I want to mention is there's a game called Love Thyself. There's a game called Love Thyself, and this is actually an Endless Space game. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a game called Love Thyself. It's free, and it's an endless space game. That I also recommend. But it is very nerdy. It's an extremely nerdy game. It's not very casual. So, I do recommend Love Thyself. It takes about an hour to beat. It's like an hour start to finish. And it's free. And it is an endless space game. So I do want to mention that. It's not DLC. It's its own separate game. But I do want to mention that it exists. From what I understand, Love Thyself is a April Fool's game. So if you want an April Fool's game, there you go. I think that does it. I think I told you which ones are required. I told you which ones are optional. I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.